The content and opinion of this program are not those of the Southwest Suburban Cable Commission or its member cities and this television channel.
The person who wins the endorsement is probably going to be a Libertarian Tea Party candidate.
Political observer Eric Pusey and Tim O'Brien sort through the theater of Minnesota right-wingers, liberals, and moderates.
But when it comes to making change, this story of going green...
Annie Russell, with squiggly animation, explains how you can really make a difference.
You know, you want to take your negativity and your loss and your sadness and everything.
And a clinically depressed motivational speaker has advice for Congressional House Speaker John Boehner and Minnesota partisans. You're going to want to hear this. Democratic Visions is handcrafted by lefty volunteers, mostly Democrats, for the entire metro region. Here's Tim O'Brien.
Eric Pusey is retiring from the blogosphere. After nearly 8 years and some 2,600 posts at Minnesota Progressive Project, the Big E is retiring from the feisty, lefty blog site that he co-founded. His co-conspirators will continue on without him. He has written that his heart isn't in it anymore. Some say it's way too coincidental that Eric is calling it quits in the same time frame as Michelle Bachmann pulling the plug. Others say it just proves the rule of three. Michelle Bachmann, Eric Pusey, and Jay Leno all calling it quits at the same time. Well, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Eric, welcome to Democratic Visions, and tell us, why are you calling it quits?
Well, great to be here. Thanks for asking me on again. As I said, my heart isn't in it. If Michelle Bachmann insisting she's going to sue President Obama over executive privilege and Keith Ellison wanting to talk to me about my new book doesn't motivate me, it's time to find something new.
But how can you walk away from a contested Senate race and a contested gubernatorial race here in Minnesota? Look at those candidates stacked up on the Republican side for the Senate. You got Julie Ortman. Now, give us your take on Julie.
Ethics.
Ethics?
Big ethics problems.
Oh, does that have anything to do with working for the Hennepin County Sheriff, putting in a 15-hour day once, and then charging the state Senate 96 days, I believe, for per diem?
Might be. I might have written about that.
Oh. What do you think her prospects are? She got all of 31% in the Republican straw poll that was conducted at the precinct caucus level.
It all depends. I mean, what are the Libertarians and the Tea Party going to do? I mean, they don't particularly like her. She's not conservative enough, although she's trying.
What's your sense of where the Libertarians and the Tea Parties are going to be in that race?
I have no idea, but if they have anything to do with the party like they did in 2012, I mean, they run the party now. It's going to be a clown show. We're going to have Mr. Bill again, Kurt Bills from Rosemount.
What about the $57 million man, McFadden, the fellow that's going to run come hell or high water, primary Here I Come on the Senate side for the Republicans?
I recall a Republican candidate running for president in 2012, Romney. He's Romney Jr. He's a vulture capitalist. He makes money by firing people.
So let's turn to who's going to challenge Mark Dayton and his newly selected Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith.
Tina Smith is a great candidate. She's a very smart woman. She has a ton of connections. Did a lot for R.T. Ryback as on his staff.
Did a lot for the city of Minneapolis.
Heck yeah, she's really good. I'm really excited about her as a lieutenant governor candidate. As for the Republicans, as I said before, who's going to turn it into a clown show? Marty Seifert actually has a chance since his buddy Tom Emmer's not running.
Good point.
He's running up in the 6th district to make sure.
That's an entirely different story.
Yeah, but to make sure that Minnesota still gets embarrassed by the 6th district.
A tradition to uphold.
Traditions to uphold. So we've got Dave Thompson from Lakeville, who will only run for office if someone pays him.
Oh, that he was hired. He took in a fair amount of money from the Republican Party itself, did he not?
Doing some vague sort of thing.
Is that the Republican Party that ran itself into a couple $1 million in debt?
Might have been that same party.
Okay. Uh-huh. And who else lines up there that you recall?
Oh,
we can't.
I know who you're going to say it's Kurt Zellers.
Yeah.
We can forget about Kurt Zellers.
So, okay. What about the McFadden clone, Scott Honor.
Honor Among Thieves, another guy who likes to fire people for a living, so that he'll be great. There's no chance we would ever compare that poor man to Mitt Romney. We never would do that.
Now, it's going to go to a primary because at least one of those candidates, Seifert, has said that he's going to go to a primary if necessary. Who do you think is going to come out on the Republican side?
I have no idea. First off, the person who wins the endorsement is probably going to be a Libertarian Tea Party candidate. They're going to have virtually no backing from the party because the party has no organization and no money. So Honor and McFadden have great chances in their races. But we know already how to campaign against them. I'm sure the DFL, Alliance for a Better Minnesota, has tons of stuff all ready to just launch as soon as those guys look like they're solidly going to be the candidates.
Well, let's venture from the ridiculous to the sublime. Let's talk about the 3rd District. Eric Paulson represents the 3rd District in Congress. Eric Paulson hasn't garnered an opponent yet. I don't know whether he's going to get a credible opponent, a good, loyal DFLer who could win. But paint me a picture as to what kind of attributes you think a candidate should bring to a candidacy to beat Eric Paulson for Congress out here.
Well, first off, it needs to be someone who's willing to run 2, probably 3 times. I remember John Klein ran 3 times before he eventually won. It was his 3rd try that he finally won. So they have to be dedicated to the cause. Someone who's hopefully held some office. If not, they need to be able to build that support so that the candidacy ends up being really about them. It needs to be someone who's got a force of personality that can drive it. I've been talking to a number of people about this, and I'm aware of some polling that Paulson is really weak, especially because of all the shutdown and the holding the debt ceiling hostage and all this nonsense.
He voted right down the line for that.
Yeah, he votes virtually the same as Michelle Bachmann, except he doesn't say crazy things in public that people record. But he's weak, he's vulnerable, and we just need to find somebody. And that of course, is our problem. Everybody's looking for someone, trying to convince people to run, but if you're a legislator who's won your seat, there's a number of them out in the district, now we can really get some good things done at the legislature. Why do you want to risk that for a shot at a Republican, and when it's going to take 2 or 3 times to win? So recruiting someone with some history is going to be tough.
I personally think that in order to knock him off, we're going to have to run a woman for that office. Do you agree with that?
It certainly could be. Once again, it is really the personality that's going to drive this. We need to continue building the structure in the 3rd, but it's going to really be about the personality.
I could envision a circumstance if we could find a qualified woman that possesses what you just described, would run in 14, and if she doesn't win in 14, then run with Hillary in 16. I would think that would be a very, very powerful combination, because Hillary, from all indication, is not only going to run, she's going to win in 2016.
Looking at Ashwin Madhya in 2008, he ran away from Obama and lost. Obama won the 3rd district in 2008. So, going with the presidential candidate is always going to be a good thing, especially as the demographics turn more and more blue, because by 2016, by 2018, the district is going to get that much more blue.
What about 6th district? We've talked about Emmer is probably a shoe-in there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What about the 7th? Do you think Colin Peterson's going to run again?
Yeah.
I haven't followed it that well, but is this normally what he does? He sort of sits there and doesn't describe what his intentions are until it's time to actually, he has to make a decision?
It's his seat as long as he wants it. I mean, the Republicans will try to run somebody against him, but the Republicans will probably take the seat back as soon as he quits.
Let's complete the loop. Let's go up to the 8th district.
Oh, yes.
Rick Nolan, good guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, Stu Mills III is his opponent. Hasn't been endorsed yet, but I assume that's going to happen. How do you think that's going to come down?
Well, let's put it this way. What does your family do for Christmas?
Well, we sort of gather around the Christmas tree.
Well, his apparently likes to use beer bongs. And we've got great pictures of him. They were out on the internet, and he didn't get them down quick enough, so we have them.
Well, maybe that happened long ago in his career. What do
It
you think?
wasn't that long ago. That's what's really funny. The other things that are particularly funny is Fleet Farm has gotten a lot of government aid
That's the Mills
to create
operation.
jobs.
The Mills
Yeah,
operation.
Fleet Farm, Mills Fleet Farm, despite the fact that he's against government intervention and big government, blah, blah, blah. And then his car dealership, the family car dealership, I don't think it's particularly his, the car dealership has gotten cash for clunkers money. I mean, talk about making some money off the government. It's ridiculous.
Producer Jeff Strait sought the counsel of one humorist, John Spade's characters, a motivational speaker, actually a clinically depressed motivational speaker. Jeff was wondering if some well-known politicians could use some cheering up, maybe a pep talk.
You don't use your name. You're anonymous.
I am anonymous. I'm totally anonymous.
You are a motivational speaker,
That's right, Jeff.
and you're clinically depressed.
Absolutely, yeah. Just getting up is a victory, Jeff.
How does that translate into stirring up the juices at your conventions, at your workshops? How do you do that?
Usually I don't do it because I'm incapable, but they have paid, Jeff, and that money kind of talks and kind of motivates, and that's what I have to depend on. Some days I can fake it pretty good, though. You know, I can wind up and,
What does a seminar of yours cost?
oh, if you have to ask. You
I
know.
do, yes.
Oh, yeah. We could work out generous terms, but it's way up there.
Do you operate out of airport hotels when you fly around the country?
Oh, yeah, I live, Jeff, in airport hotels. I live in chain hotels, which I love
Okay.
for their anonymity, their blandness.
That may have been a Freudian slip. No, you don't use your name ever. Is this to protect yourself from legal lawsuits? or
It's to protect myself from my own identity, because if I knew who I was, I would probably be appalled, actually.
Are you licensed? Do you have training in?
Oh, sure, I've got
motivational
something
speakers?
on the wall. Yeah, there's a thing with the thing on it.
And where'd that come from?
Somewhere in California.
Okay.
Yeah,
Who are your favorite motivational speakers at the national level?
at the national. Well, first of all, there is, of course, Tony Robbins, right?
Tony
he gets
Robbins,
up
yeah.
there, and I just like the name.
The great Tony Robbins.
Yeah, Tony Robbins just rolls off the tongue.
It's a happy name.
It's a happy name. It's a happy making name.
Yeah.
And though she's not recognized exactly as a motivational speaker, I would say Oprah. And again, Oprah is a nice name to say. It sort of opens the chakras up, you know. Oprah.
Oprah. Yeah.
I feel kind of good just saying Oprah. But secretly, my favorite motivational speaker is the little voice inside my head and inside yours.
Do I have a little voice
You
inside
have
my head?
a little motivational speaker, and God knows he's better than I am,
Sure.
inside of your head.
Okay.
And if you listen to him, he's going to become your favorite. See, he's going to be talking to you. That's my thing.
And that happens to you in, say, front of 100 to 400 people in some airport, a little guy inside.
Sometimes he's screaming at me like you
Really?
you really screwed that up. Yeah.
And that translates into people feeling better about themselves.
I have no idea. It's just, the thing is, people have such a touching desire to get better. And I believe when they come and they see me and they see that I really haven't succeeded in that, I think it just gives them lots of courage and lots of encouragement. The common touch, the sense that they can be where I am, or they probably are where I am, you know.
You seem to be filling a niche that the
Well,
others are not filling.
Exactly. I mean, there you go.
Now, do they know you're depressed when you get up in front
Oh,
of
how
them?
could you miss it?
Okay. So you don't have to tell them vocally or anything.
No, just the hunched shoulders, the look of despair, the drooping everything. It just gets it right across.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States. Thank you.
Now, House Speaker John Boehner.
Yeah.
He has to work with Tea Party Republicans. He has to sit behind President Obama during the State of the Union speeches.
And he has to pretend, yeah, I know, I get that.
Not grimace.
I get that.
He also has a beautiful tan. It looks like he spends a lot of time either in a tanning salon or in Palm Spring golf courses, one of the two.
Yeah.
But he has all the looks of a top-rate, clinically depressed, motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Do you think the Speaker of the House is a motivational speaker coming out of a closet?
Those guys, man, it's not on the sly at all. I mean, they go to these dinners. They don't even have any certificates or training. They didn't go through the living hell that I did to get my cert. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And do you know what they get paid? I mean, it is just a scandal. Campaigning is like this motivational speaker carnival. Then they get power. You know, I would like sometime to work with a politician just to be able to kind of fake it the way they do. You know, fake it till you make it.
Let's look at the President's State of the Union speech, John Boehner.
Yeah.
John doesn't look too happy right here.
He sure doesn't. No.
What would you recommend he do?
I would just recommend that he paste a grin on his face, which is all any of us can do some days, you know.
Literally, like a paper grin, or
No, that's a metaphor, Jeff.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
paste or stick a rictus of a smile on your lips and just tough it out.
Now look at this expression. This kind of bothered me when I was looking at it. Now, what's Boehner doing wrong here?
Here he's just letting a true emotion emerge, which I think is always a mistake. You know, if the guy would just roll his eyes occasionally, he could keep up the smile, see? Smile and roll your eyes, I think he'd pretty much please everybody.
Could you give us an example of what Boehner might do? Just pretend you're sitting behind the president right now.
Okay, first the smile.
Unless we have a photo ID requirement.
Keith Downey may also need your counsel and help here. He ran against a neophyte, a political neophyte, Melissa Franson. He lost. Keith Downey is out of work. This was at a time when the Republican Party was having a lot of trouble. There was some scandal. The party itself was going broke. He accepts a job with the Republican Party to be its chair in Minnesota.
Whoa.
Can you help this man?
Well, you know, first of all, that's just a bold move. You know, you want to take your negativity and your loss and your sadness and they're just that thing inside that's just eating you up, and you want to bring it up here and you want to elevate it into running a political party, you know, and just send it out as appeals for money.
And as head of a political party, you're the cheerleader, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Mr. Downey is very good at that. We have a little tape to show you.
Okay.
He's speaking at a banquet of Somali Americans in North Minneapolis. He's doing quite well.
Yeah.
Handsome looking guy.
Say I don't have a prepared speech tonight, and the reason is that I really would like to speak.
Should he have done that?
No, that's just a total no, Jeff. And but you see, the guy's inner pain is just coming out. I mean, it's driving him pillar to post. I understand. I get it.
You do parade your depression around quite publicly then?
I try to connect with people on the basis of total and utter loss and negativity and just things falling through the bottom of the floor.
The DFL in Minnesota, my party, could fall through the cracks again this next election. Any advice for them?
Breathe in, breathe out.
Breathe in.
Activate your parasympathetic nervous system, Jeff. Yeah. And talk like you mean it. Huh? Feel the heart. Huh?
Yep.
Huh?
Okay.
It's going to be okay.
Yep.
Huh? Felt pretty good, didn't it?
I do feel more depressed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff Straight joins us. Now, Jeff, you're not really depressed, are you?
Not really, and I'll tell you why. DFL Senate District 48, that's southern Minnetonka and Eden Prairie, had really great precinct caucuses. It was packed. Everyone was, hold on just a second here. And it's trending on Twitter up. See, I have a video I want to show you. Let's take a look at it.
Okay?
Well, precinct caucuses were held throughout Minnesota on February 4. That's when like-minded and non-like-minded Minnesota Democrats, Republicans, and others gather separately in neighborhood groups to hear from candidates and tell their political parties what goals they should fight for. Now, like our Republican colleagues, we gathered at Eden Prairie High School in the separate meeting areas. More than 300 attended the DFL Senate District 48 caucuses. For an off-year election cycle, that's pretty darn impressive. No controversies with us, but it was lively. The regional media showed up because a number of GOP gubernatorial and U.S. Senate hopefuls attended the Senate District 48 Republican caucuses. Well, that was a smart move by the Republicans. You get all your leading candidates for the Senate, U.S. Senate, and the gubernatorial race, and you put them in one place, and you make it easy for the reporters to get those sound bites.
The problem was that if you looked at the camera and what they shot, you didn't see any people at those caucuses.
Not on the Republican side, and that is the big story of the night. In Eden Prairie, southern Minnetonka, DFL 48, we had over 300 people show up for our precinct caucuses, and according to my operatives, they had far fewer, maybe less than half of what we got. That's the big story that no one reported on television and at the Star Tribune. This is David Hahn's Senate district. The Democrats are showing up. We're doing it.
Well,
as I said, oh, hey, another tweet. We're going up. You know, guys, political change can be prompted by activism at the grassroots level. You don't necessarily need a political party. Examples of my point are showcased each year in the Wild and Scenic Film Festival. It sports very good short films about regular citizens who have become environmental activists. In December, I saw the 2013 winners at the U of M's Humphrey Institute. The screening was sponsored by the North Star chapter of the Sierra Club, Midwest Mountaineering, and Patagonia. Most of the 12 films were about people who have organized to protect a river, prairie, or woods, to clean up pollution, and to reduce global warming. Their shared message, don't wait for the politicians. The Story of Change was one of them. It was produced by the Story of Stuff Project, an international environmental awareness movement based in Berkeley. Story of Stuff founder Annie Leonard stars in the delightful and to the point, The Story of Change.
Ever since I learned where our stuff really comes from and how this system is trashing people and the planet, I've been trying to figure out how we can change it. I've read a lot of these. 100 ways to save the planet without leaving your house. 50 simple things you can do to save the earth. The Little Green Book of Shopping. I thought these might have the answers, but their tips all start here, with buying better stuff. And they all end here, with recycling all that stuff when I'm done with it. But when it comes to making change, this story of going green, even though we see it everywhere, has some serious shortcomings. It says that if I become a smarter shopper and tell all my friends to do the same, I've done my part. And if I don't buy all this green stuff, then it's my fault the planet's being destroyed. Wait a minute, my fault? I didn't choose to put toxic products on the shelves or allow slave labor in factories around the world. I didn't choose to fill stores with electronics that can't be repaired and have to be thrown away. I didn't choose a world in which some people can afford to live green, leaving the rest of us to be irresponsible planet wreckers. Of course, when we do shop, we should buy the least toxic and most fair products we can. But it's not bad shoppers here who are the source of the problem. It's bad policies and bad business practices here. And that's why the solutions we really need are not for sale at the supermarket. If we actually want to change the world, we can't talk only about consumers voting with our dollars. Real change happens when citizens come together to demand rules that work. Look, it is important to try to live green. As Gandhi said, be the change. Living our values in small ways shows ourselves and others that we care. So it is a great place to start. But it is a terrible place to stop. After all, would we even know who Gandhi was if he just sewed his own clothes and then sat back waiting for the British to leave India? So how do we make big change? To answer that question, I went back and looked at Gandhi, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, the US civil rights movement, and the environmental victories here in the 1970s. They didn't just nag people to perfect their day-to-day choices, they changed the rules of the game. It turns out there are 3 things you find whenever people get together and actually change the world. First, they share a big idea for how things could be better. Not just a little better for a few people, a whole lot better for everyone. And they don't just tinker around the edges. They go right to the heart of the problem, even when it means changing systems that don't want to be changed. And that can be scary. Hey, millions of us already share a big idea for how things can be better. Instead of this dinosaur economy that focuses only on corporate profits, we want a new economy that puts safe products, happy people, and a healthy planet first. Duh, isn't that what an economy should be for? Trying to live eco-perfectly in today's system is like trying to swim upstream when the current is pushing us all the other way. But by changing what our economy prioritizes, we can change that current so that the right thing becomes the easiest thing to do. Second, the millions of ordinary people who made these extraordinary changes didn't try to do it alone. They didn't just say, I will be more responsible. They said, we will work together until the problem is solved. Today, it's easier than ever to work together. Can you imagine how hard it was to get a message across India in 1930? We can do it now in less than a second. Finally, these movements succeeded in creating change because they took their big idea and their commitment to work together, and then they took action. Did you know that when Martin Luther King Jr. organized his March on Washington, less than a quarter of Americans supported him? But that was enough to make change because those supporters took action. They did stuff. Today, 74% of Americans support tougher laws on toxic chemicals. 83% want clean energy laws. 85% think corporations should have less influence in government. We've got the big idea and the commitment. We just haven't turned it all into massive action yet. And this is our only missing piece. So let's do it. Making real change takes all kinds of citizens, not just protesters. When you realize what you're good at and what you like to do, plugging in doesn't seem so hard. Whatever you have to offer, a better future needs it. So ask yourself, what kind of change maker am I? We need investigators, communicators, builders, resistors, nurturers, and networkers. At storyofstuff.org, you can explore these types of change makers and find your first or your next step to take action. Being a responsible citizen starts with voting. That's one of those basic things that everyone's just got to do. But it gets way more exciting and fun when we put our unique skills and interests to work alongside thousands of others. I know that changing a whole economic system is a huge challenge. It's not easy to see a clear path from where we are today to where we need to go. And there's no 10 simple things we can do without leaving our couches. But the path didn't start out clear to all these guys either. Dr. King said, faith is taking the first step even though you don't see the whole staircase. So they worked hard to get organized, practiced the small acts that built their citizen muscles, and kept their focus on their big idea. And when the time was right, they were ready. It's time for us to get ready too. Ready to make change and write the next chapter in the story of stuff.
Eric, I really appreciate your insights now and over the years, and best wishes going forward.
Thanks so much.
This land is your land. This land is my land.
Not for long,
From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for the melody. I was walking that rhythm highway. I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for the melody.
Well, I roamed and rambled. Well, I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, while all around me a voice was sounding.
This land was made by we.
Everybody, this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwoods forest.
The presentation of guests and opinions on this program does not indicate endorsement by the state DFL party or DFL Senate District 48. The content and opinion of this program are not those of the Southwest Suburban Cable Commission or its member cities and this television channel.